Okay, so hello and welcome everybody. It is lovely to have so many people here this evening. I am Hannah and I am an acupuncturist, obviously, and I specialise in fertility, and I have been an acupuncturist for over 10 years now, which I find really hard to believe, because I remember being in training thinking, imagine what it's like when you've got 10 years of experience, and you know, with the blink of an eye, here I am. I realized that if you follow me on Instagram or you get my newsletters, I talk a lot about fertility, and I talk a lot about fertility education and a lot about fertility support, but I don't talk enough about what I do, which is fertility acupuncture. So I thought it would be a really good way to kick off the new year, is to talk about acupuncture and how brilliant it is. So it would be great to hear from you if you just want to pop it in the chat. If you think about acupuncture, whether you've had it or whether you are contemplating having it, if you have one word that springs to your mind when you think about acupuncture, I would be so grateful to hear what your thoughts are, what your feelings are. So just one word that springs to mind when you think or you hear the word acupuncture. If you've got 30 seconds and you can put it in the chat, I would be very, very grateful. In the meantime, I'm going to share my screen as well. Now I've lost my chat. Somebody, oh, I love this. I love this. So this is brilliant. So very nice. Orla has put relaxing. Jane has put relaxing. Somebody has put sleepy. Somebody has put ouch. Yes, we are going to talk about that, and hopefully it won't be ouch. Resetting. Yes. Fertility acupuncture equals lifeline. Naomi, that is so great to hear, and I'm so happy you have found something that is helpful and is supporting you. So it seems to me that a lot of the words that you're using are positive words, which is fantastic, because I think sometimes people can have association.
Oh.
Hello, hi, sorry, if you can turn your speaker off, that would be great. Thank you. So it's great to hear that somebody's put hope. That's a really, really great word as well, I would use to describe it. So thank you for that. Can you see my presentation? Can somebody just pop in the chat whether you can see the bird? Yeah, great. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do with this presentation is I'm going to tell you a little bit about how acupuncture works. I'm going to do a little bit about the science behind acupuncture. We're going to look at why it's good for fertility. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we work in this team. So we are now a team of 5 acupuncturists. We have a reflexologist and we also have a nutritionist. So the majority of our work is acupuncture, but as a team, we do support fertility. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the way that we do it. It's going to be hopefully about 15 or 20 minutes. And then when I finish, there's going to be time for questions at the end. So hold on to your questions. If there's anything burning as you go along, then please do pop it in the chat. I will try and keep my eye on the chat as we go along, but I can't promise to. So hold it to the end if possible. So let's start at the beginning. What the heck is acupuncture? And it's a really good question. And it's the one that I find the most difficult to answer, because it's quite complicated and it's quite abstract in many ways. And unless you've had it, I think that the best way to describe it is if you have it, because then you really get a sense of how it works and what it does. But from a sort of theoretical description and a Chinese medicine description, acupuncture is a part of Chinese medicine. And acupuncture and Chinese medicine believes that the body has 12 channels that run through the body, a bit like electric circuits. And these channels, they carry and move around qi, which is like an energy, which if you've ever watched Star Wars and they talk about the Force, I always think of qi as being like the Force. It's like energy, it's around us, it's in us. We can't see it, but we know it's there because we can feel it. And the 12 channels have energy that run around it, and we use needles into specific points on the 12 channels to stimulate the energy. So in a very simplistic way, we're trying to either boost the energy or we're trying to calm it down. And the idea is that when you have balance and you have good harmony and you have this energy moving around the body freely and well, you have balance and you have good health. So I hope I have done that justice. When it comes to explaining it from a Western medicine point of view, and this is what lots of people ask me, really, I think that when you use the acupuncture needles to stimulate the points, you can kind of think about it in terms of they can kind of encourage the neurotransmitters, which are like communication messages to the brain, which can help activate other messengers. So they can activate hormones, they can activate your reproductive hormones or your stress hormones, or they can reduce them down. So a bit like we were talking about it from a Chinese medicine perspective, in that it kind of your energy or it can calm your energy down. It's a bit like that from a neurotransmitter point of view, in that it can activate and stimulate good neurotransmitters to produce more and for that to be carried around the body. So for example, when it comes to fertility, I would think about follicle stimulating hormone, and acupuncture has been proven to have some good positive effects on the body's ability to stimulate follicle stimulating hormone, which can have a positive effect on your menstrual cycle and on your fertility. And so that's an activation, but the neurotransmitters and the needles can also reduce stress. So cortisol and adrenaline, by using the points on the body, it can bring those down and calm those down and kind of reduce the stress. So that's kind of like a Western medicine explanation for it. And I have to say, it takes 4 years to study to be an acupuncturist. And I spent 4 of those years, I'm from a really scientific background, and I spent 4 of those years going, but why does it work? How does it work? I found it really a really difficult concept to grasp. And what happens is that I became an acupuncturist because I had a lot of acupuncture, and that my experience of it was so profound that I kind of stopped questioning how and why it works, because I knew that I had a reaction in my body that was positive, and for me that was enough. So it's, different people want different levels of explanation, but that's how I explain it. So acupuncture for fertility is a really popular support method that people use, whether they're trying to conceive naturally or whether they're going through IVF. And in fact, I found a statistic while I was doing the research for this that shows that 1 in 4 couples who are trying to conceive actually do use acupuncture as like an add-on. And in fact, I think I also saw somewhere that it is actually the most popular add-on to use alongside fertility treatment. So it's really popular. It's lots of people talk about it. There's a lot of information about it out there. And I became a specialist in acupuncture because when I started work, it's what came through the door. Lots and lots of people came to me with fertility issues. And so as the years went by, that's where I honed my skills, and that's where I concentrated my efforts and my learning, because it was such a popular reason why people came through my door. So there've been quite a few really positive studies that have shown the positive impact that acupuncture can have. So one study has shown that acupuncture can increase the success rates of IVF when used alongside it. And one of the biggest studies that really blew up the whole acupuncture support for supporting fertility was around a German study that they did, which was about the Paulus treatment, which is a set number of acupuncture needles that are used before embryo transfer and after embryo transfer. And it was shown that the people who had this treatment had a really positive response and a huge increase in the success rate. So that's really where a lot of this kind of sort of liking for acupuncture and the evidence for acupuncture. That's where it all really started from. So the HFEA, which are the governing body for fertility treatment, they have I don't know if you know, but they have like a red list and an amber list and a green list in terms of what they recommend for fertility treatment, like, because it's really to safeguard people about what is okay and what might, that it's not what is okay and what's not okay. It's about what is there enough evidence for. So in the HFEA, acupuncture is a red light. So as an add-on, it's considered a red light because there isn't enough evidence for them to support it and for them to clinically be able to say, yes, acupuncture definitely helps when it comes to people trying to conceive. So it's an interesting place. It's an interesting list to look at, and I highly recommend that you do when you're considering any fertility support treatment. And I will say in defense of acupuncture that it is very, very difficult to scientifically measure acupuncture, because if you're measuring a drug, for example, you have a group of people who take the drug, and then you have a group of people who don't take the drug, and you don't tell them, obviously, because one group are taking a placebo, and it's very easy to compare the notes and see which group responded better or worse, and to see whether the drug had a positive impact. Now, when it comes to scientifically measuring at people who are having acupuncture, it's very difficult to set up any kind of control, because you can't do fake acupuncture, or it's very difficult to have the whole effect, because do you do fake needles? Do you pretend to needle? People will know that you're not needling. And so there's a lot of variables that can't be counted to be the same. So it's very difficult to actually do the science. And unlike the big pharma companies, unlike these big clinical trials that go on, acupuncturists just do not have the research facilities and the research funding to really do a lot of study into it. So a lot of the studies that have been done on acupuncture for fertility are often very, very small. So, this is one of the reasons why the HFEA and lots of organizations don't recommend acupuncture. Or it's not that they don't, it's just that they can't, because there isn't enough scientific evidence. Lots and lots of fertility clinics do recommend it, because they recommend it even without the scientific proof, because they see and they recognize that people that they treat who are going through fertility treatment, who have the support of an acupuncturist, often do better, whether that's emotionally or physically. Lots of the fertility clinics see a real positive benefit from having treatment. And so, the clinics do recommend it. Lots of the ones that we work with are really, really into the idea, and they really encourage patients to seek out that support. So, when it comes to the science and the recommendations, it is a mixed bag. And one of the things I'm hoping is going to stay with you through this is that try it and see what you think, because that is the best way to make a decision for yourself. So what has acupuncture been proven to help with? So there have been scientific studies to show that it can really help with balancing your hormones. So we know that if you've got well-balanced hormones, it's going to help improve your menstrual cycle. It's going to help encourage regular ovulation and making sure that you are actually ovulating. It can help with good follicular development. So that's the follicles within the ovaries that grow. So whether you are going for IVF, you want good and multiple follicular development, or if you're trying to conceive naturally, you want one good follicle that's growing nicely every single month. So it can help support that by balancing your hormones, and better uterine lining. So this is a good one where there is some really great evidence of acupuncture being really helpful in building up that lining, which is great for implantation, especially if you're going through IVF and you're on lots of medication. So that's the balancing hormone section. Lots and lots of good research into blood flow to the uterus. So if you've ever been for acupuncture, then you will know that a lot of the needles that we do are sort of below the belly button and above the pubic bone. So we do a lot of work around this area to stimulate blood flow, not only to the uterus, but to the ovaries as well. And this can help with better lining, as we discussed before, the follicular development, the egg maturation. So there's always this debate around egg quality. Can you impact egg quality? What can you do for egg quality? And it's difficult because egg quality, by a lot of egg quality and the positives around that are down to genetics, and you are born with all your eggs. They are laid down at birth. So the amount of which you can influence that is always open to debate. But we would always say that when your egg goes through that life cycle of being developed, so we know it takes about 3 months for the egg to go from a tiny, tiny cell within your ovary to that egg within the follicle that's about to be released. That cycle takes about 3 months. And if you can create a really good, positive, healthy environment during that time, then it is believed that that egg that is matured, that has been developed within that environment, has a much better success. It's much more likely to be fertilized, and it is of a higher quality. So that's kind of where we think that we can really make a good impact. And the other area is implantation. So, it's about providing that good uterus lining and encouraging good blood flow to the uterus lining, and about having lower levels of inflammation. So it's the correct kind of balance between blood flow and an immune response to encourage really good implantation. And in fact, that's what the study refers to, about that 65% increase. It was around that, the increase in the implantation rates for people doing IVF. So that's the blood flow to the uterus. And this is a massive one for me, and this is one that I really believe strongly. Oh, sorry. This is the one that I really believe very strong. Oh, sorry, I've just realized I'm not in the oh, there I am. Just realized I'm not in the box. This is the one that we really believe, I see the main area of impact is around reducing stress. I've just realized, have I been talking to you and you've not been able to see me? Anyway, at least you can hear me, so I apologize for that. I hadn't realized. So reducing stress is massive, because going through fertility treatment, whether you're going through IVF or whether you're trying to conceive naturally, it is stressful. There is no doubt about that. So acupuncture has been proven to reduce the stress, reduce the cortisol, reduce the adrenaline production that happens in the body when you are under continuous stress. And the thing about fertility treatment is it is that continuous stress. It never goes away. Once you start trying to conceive and there are problems, or you feel like it's taking longer, that's it. You're in that stress state, and it's a very difficult one to get out of. So I think it really provides that safe space where people can really reduce their stress. And, we see people coming in. I did a reel about it the other day. People come in and they're carrying the stress of the day. They're talking, they're active, they're in that fight or flight. They lie down. It's often a very nice warm bed. It's a beautiful room, has some nice needles, which sounds, counterproductive, but I promise you they are nice needles. And you can just see their body just relax. It kind of gives up the fight, and people walk out often saying they feel like a bit drunk or a bit spaced out, or like they could go to sleep. And that is because what we have done is we've switched off that fight or flight response. And what we've done is we've put their body into that rest and digest place. So we've gone from the parasympathetic nervous system, which is all about kind of adrenaline and cortisol and movement, and we've moved them into that sympathetic calm nervous system, which is about rest and digest, which really, really benefits you when you're trying to conceive, because it allows you to have really good hormone production. It allows you to sleep better. It allows you to digest better, all of which supports your fertility, all of which makes you genuinely feel better on in that moment as you leave. So reducing stress is a really big part of our work. Oh, you can see me. Oh, good. So how we work differently. So what's great about an acupuncturist, and what's a real privilege for our role that we have, is that, when somebody is trying to conceive, I think the problem is that if you're starting off your journey, you can go to your GP, you get 10 or 15 minutes if you're lucky. You're often told, go away, come back in 6 months' time. You're often told, okay, we can do some basic tests. Here's some blood forms, and off you go. And then you might get your blood test results back, and you might be told everything's normal, or you might not get your blood test results back, or you might get them back and there's an issue. and you'll get referred to an IVF clinic. And when you go for an IVF clinic, the IVF clinic then looks at those results and they say, okay, yeah, we can get you in for treatment. We're now going to do IVF. Both, and I'm not in any way criticizing either of those places or either of those jobs that people do. That's just what they do, and that's the way that they do it. But what I feel is missing is this grey area in the middle, where neither side is really taking the time to thoroughly investigate that person's health. And I want to say health, but it's health and lifestyle, because often IVF clinics do quite a bit of investigations. They might do transvaginal scans, they might do sperm tests, they'll do blood tests, you might have a hycoxia, all of those kind of things, those investigations will happen. But what nobody does at any point in lots of people's fertility journey is take the time to really look at and investigate all aspects of their life that could be impacting their fertility. So I'm talking about and I'm going to go on and talk about it in a minute, your menstrual cycle and how that's working, your stress levels, what job you do, how your childhood was, what your childhood health was like, what your support system is like. Are you sleeping well? Do you drink enough water? Are you having too much caffeine? Are you drinking too much alcohol? Do you suffer from anxiety? Is there any depression? And we have the time, and that is the difference, is that we have the time because we investigate. We want to know everything because we are holistic practitioners. We don't believe in a separation between somebody's digestion and their anxiety. You know, from a Western medicine point of view, you go and see somebody for your anxiety and you go and see somebody completely different for your digestion. Whereas in our world, we are, you know, from the way that our medicine is taught, is that we believe the two are absolutely connected, and we would take a lot of time to look at all the things that might be impacting that. So we take time to investigate properly, and our first appointment here is an hour and a half. And all our follow-up appointments are an hour. So we spend a lot of time, and we never do. Some acupuncturists run 2 rooms at once, so they'll see 2 people at once. We never do that because we are here to support and guide and care, and we do that on a one-on-one basis. So we have time, we investigate, and we guide, because I have worked in fertility for 10 years. 2 of my practitioners, one has worked in it for 20 years, another one has been here worked in fertility for 15 years. So we have seen people through every single type of treatment, every single type of clinic. We've got great relationships with consultants and different gynecologists, different specialists, different, you know, anybody connected with the world of fertility. We try to forge links with them too, and we have a really great network. So what we can do is we can guide you through the best person for you to see, because when it comes to fertility, lots of people have lots of different opinions, and I think it's really important that you get lots of different opinions and you do lots of information gathering before you make a decision on what type of treatment you're going to go through. Because unfortunately, what we see in our clinic way too often is people who've been through rounds and rounds and rounds of treatment, or they've been trying for years and years and years and years, and they've not necessarily had that breadth of treatment or that breadth of information to really get to the bottom of what their problem is. And sometimes you need to sit in front of 4 different consultants and get 4 different opinions and feel which one fits right for you. So we can really guide and signpost people to a really good, you know, I've got a great person that I send to for transvaginal scans. If you've got endometriosis, I might send you to a specialist endometriosis person before you even started on fertility treatment. And it's that kind of guidance that I think can really, really cut your time. You know, people, you do not want to be on this journey for years and years and years, and it makes sure you get in front of the right person quickly rather than going through lots of unnecessary treatment. And finally, and probably most importantly, is that we are here to care and support for anybody who walks in and works with us, because fertility treatment is hard work, it's traumatic, and it's really stressful. And a lot of our job is you know, caring, looking after, listening, being a sounding board, supporting people in whatever way we can. And that is why we really have that time, and we give that time to people, because it's what people need, and it's what gets them through their treatment. So that's how we work differently, I think, from a GP or a fertility clinic. And these are really the areas that we focus on, and I've touched on these before. So these are what we call like the pillars of fertility. So these are all the things that we know that can have an impact on a positive or a negative impact on your fertility. And these are all the areas that we would concentrate on. And the areas that we look at, and we look at supporting with lifestyle advice, with the acupuncture itself, or with nutrition. So nutrition is a big one. So as I said before, we've got a great nutritionist in our team, and we work integratively, can never say that, with her. So it means that we share the information. So we work on the same way. And so the person going through treatment doesn't have to see a separate nutritionist who's on one path, and then they see an acupuncturist who's on another path. We are fully linked up together, so we can give you the best possible support. And it means you don't have to go through all your information twice. And we know that nutrition really is at the foundation of everything. So good nutrition, really important. We really look at sleep. So lots and lots of people say they sleep much better after having treatment with us. And we know that good sleep has that knock-on effect of being really good for hormone balance. So, you know, encouraging people to sleep, talking about sleep, looking at lifestyle advice around sleep, and then using our acupuncture to really help encourage sleep and reset that kind of fight or flight response is a big part of what we do. Exercise, really important for fertility. So we're here to support people and keep them accountable to the amount of exercise they do, give people reassurance that exercise is okay. Because there are so many people who come to clinic who give up their spin classes, they've been told not to run, they're concerned about doing too much HIIT, and we are here to be a sounding board, give good advice, keep a check on their menstrual cycle, their digestion, their sleep, to make sure that they're not exercising too much, or, you know, keep them accountable to do the exercise. So that's really helpful and important for your fertility. And then nervous system regulation, again, a really big part of good fertility and good fertility support is encouraging people to look at the stress in their life and the ways to manage their stress. So we do a lot of support around, you know, managing fertility treatment in the workplace. We do a lot of support around, you know, holding a boundary and setting better boundaries for when you're going through fertility treatment. And obviously we use our needles to literally switch off that fight or flight response and reset the body into that kind of rest and digest. And again, we talk about all the lifestyle ways and encouraging people to try and do that on a daily basis to remind their body to go back into that kind of relaxed state, which is going to help support their sleeping, their menstrual cycle, their stress levels, and their digestion. Because obviously sometimes for lots of people, if you're feeling very stressed, it can really impact your digestion, which again impacts your fertility because it can impact your menstrual cycle. So all of these things are absolutely linked together, and all of them need to be looked at, because when it comes to fertility, there is no, you know, the thing that I really think these days is that there is no one thing. I wish there was like one thing that you did and it would enable your fertility to be sorted and for pregnancy to not be a problem. But what I've realized as the years have gone by is that it's about making small improvements in lots of little places. So your nutrition, you look at your sleep, exercise, nervous system, menstrual cycle, you put it all together. And what you've actually got is good health, which actually leads to good fertility. And there is so much about fertility that we don't understand. I wish I had all the answers, and I wish I could hand on heart guarantee that every single person who came into my clinic is going to walk out in, you know, 3 to 6 months' time being pregnant. But I can't do that. But what I can hand on heart guarantee is that every single person who comes into my clinic, we are going to be working on all the areas that we know can support their fertility, so that they feel they're in the best possible place for, you know, pregnancy to happen and a successful, and not only just for pregnancy to happen, but it to be a healthy pregnancy. And we do the best we can in all the areas that we know, and we can't do better than that. I wish we could, but we can't. And it's, you know, there's so much about fertility that we don't understand and we can't explain. So just a few frequently asked questions that we get in clinic. Does acupuncture hurt? Sometimes, I'm not going to lie, sometimes it can hurt. Sometimes the needle can just be in the wrong place, or it can cause, you know, a bit of a reaction. Sometimes people can get small bruises, but this is very, very rare. I'm going to do a full confession. I am now needle phobic, because when you train to be an acupuncturist, you have to be needled by other people, you know, so other students have to train with you. So you get needled badly, repeatedly for years. And so I went into acupuncture because I loved acupuncture and I had it all the time. I came out of acupuncture school being really, really wary of needles and quite needle phobic, which has fed into my practice in that I use actually very few needles. I use the smallest needles and I use the most expensive needles, because they are the ones that glide in easily and cause minimum pain and minimum damage. So I can't give you a resounding no, it never hurts, but I will say it very rarely hurts. And most people, the most common thing that people say to me is, I would never have believed that needles could be so relaxing. Because they're not like hypodermic needles when you have to have your blood drawn or you have to have an injection. They're tiny, tiny needles. They're very fine, they're very delicate, and they usually don't hurt. How many sessions do you need? It's a really, really difficult one. In an ideal world, we like to work with people for at least 3 months, because it's all about having that 3 months to really impact the hormone system. It takes 3 months to affect egg quality. It takes 3 months to really get people in a reduced, stressed, feeling better, better digestion. All of these things take time. So we like a minimum of 3 months. The frequency with which people come in those 3 months varies. So some people I see every week, some people come when they're ovulating, some people come at the beginning of their cycle, so in the luteal phase, and then they'll come again in the follicular phase, so they'll come either side of ovulation. So it really varies, but I would say the more you have, the more often you have it, and the longer you have it for, the better the results are going to be. Why a fertility acupuncturist? So that's what people ask me a lot. So fertility acupuncturist, the thing about acupuncture is it's not regulated, unfortunately. So anybody can call themselves an acupuncturist, anybody can call themselves a fertility acupuncturist. And I would say that the difference between Orla, I'm going to come back and answer your question. I would say that the difference between an acupuncturist and a fertility acupuncturist is, you would hope that a fertility acupuncturist has had specific fertility acupuncture training. And that means that they understand the Western medicine approach to fertility, to your menstrual cycle, to IVF treatment, because when you've got a good understanding of the Western medicine approach, you can interpret that into a Chinese medicine treatment plan. So you really do need to have somebody who has done specific postgraduate training in fertility. And, you know, as I said, anyone can call themselves a fertility acupuncturist, but I would be looking at their qualifications. So I'm going to talk about it at the end, but I belong to a network of, we are called advanced level fertility specialists. So we've done a 6-month course. Well, it took me 6 months to do it. It means we have to have at least 5 years of training, of, you know, general training before we're even allowed to do the course. And I would say it's probably the best course out there in terms of, you know, the intensity and the amount of information that you have to understand and pass to qualify. It's really, really rigorous. So I would say if you can find an advanced fertility support trained acupuncturist, then you will be in good hands. But there are lots of great ones out there, but it's just important that you look at the level of their training. And the other thing is that people ask me is that it is the costs. And you know, acupuncture is expensive and you do have to pay for it. Unfortunately, we are not on the NHS and it's private medicine. I would say if that is a struggle for you, then there are lots of community clinics, and they do, I mean, I run one myself, and we offer low-cost acupuncture, and it's slightly different from what we offer in clinic, but I would say any acupuncture is better than no acupuncture. So if cost is a barrier to you, then do look in your local area for low-cost community or affordable clinics, because it's a really good way to access treatment. And I'm just going to do a little plug here because we are all about looking after people the whole way through. And we've just recently brought out this 2-week wait, a guide to help you through. So this is like an online course, because in an ideal world, if money was no object and you were in the 2-week wait, I would love to see people for acupuncture every single day, because the 2-week wait, whether you are trying to conceive naturally or whether you're going through IVF, is bloody stressful. And people for years have always come to me and said, Hannah, what can I do in that 2-week wait? What can I do? And in terms of what can you do to increase your chances of implantation happening? Well, obviously you can have acupuncture, but really so much of it is down to biology. It's kind of out of your hands at that point. The only thing I think that you can do in that time is really look at how you manage your mind and how you look after yourself, because it is very, very stressful. So we've created this course. So it's a bit like a little check-in with your acupuncturist every day. And we've got like self-help exercises, written exercises, guided meditations, some facial reflexology, and it's accessible, it's not expensive, and it's really there to support you. So it's a bit like, you know, acupuncture at home, but without the needle. So I'm just doing a little plug for that. I'm also doing a plug for my Facebook group. If you're not already in it, I've got a free Facebook group. So again, if coming for acupuncture if the cost of acupuncture is a barrier to you, then, you know, one of the things that we talked about earlier on is the support, the guidance, the information. You can get all of that in my Facebook group. So please come and join it. It's completely free. There's loads of webinars. I'm going to try and continue to do those through the year. And I've also tomorrow got my podcast coming out. So that is going to be loads of fertility education and information, again, to make it accessible so that more people have more of this help and support available to them. So that is coming out tomorrow. So look out for that. So this is the information here about fertility support trained practitioners. So this is the website. I will put it in the email that will go out afterwards. I'll put the link. So if you click on this link, it will take you to a list of other practitioners, other acupuncturists who've got the same level of training as me. And if you want to find out more about acupuncture, then the British Council have got loads of resources. They're our main governing body. They've got loads of resources. And again, they've got a directory to other acupuncturists. So they're a really good place to find out the science that I've been talking about. If you want to look at the research papers, the evidence, if you want to find out more about how acupuncture works, then that would be the place that I would recommend. Definitely spoken for longer than 20 minutes, haven't I? So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I am going to take any questions. So if you've got any questions, you are welcome to put your camera on, speak to me. I know there was one in the chat, or put it in the chat and I will answer. So Orla has put, when ovulating, on what days should you come? Well, it's difficult because you never really know 100% what day, or it's difficult to really pinpoint ovulation a lot of the time. And a lot of the time it's difficult to pinpoint ovulation and book in an appointment at the same time. So I always say a window, 5 days either side. So 5 days before, 5 days afterwards, sort of a 10-day window is a good kind of time frame for which to come at that point of your cycle. If you can get it on the same day or the day before, day after, then brilliant. But any time around that point is good for me. Anybody else got any questions? You've spoken a lot about IVF, but what about alongside other kinds of fertility treatment? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question, Emma. I have PCOS and I have been doing Clomid. Yes. So we do lots and lots of support for people who are doing different types of treatment, whether it's IUI or ovulation induction. We do lots and lots of work around that, because with PCOS particularly, it is the holistic approach that we do in this clinic. So nutrition, stress, hormone balancing, it can really, really help with PCOS. But we really like to work with people for about 3 to 6 months, really, depending on the degree to which they have PCOS and how long they've had it for. That's how much time we really like to work to really, really make a difference. And when we work with people who are doing treatment, so either Clomid or Letrozole, then absolutely we work weekly when people are doing their treatment to kind of encourage the treatment itself, so to work alongside the drugs and to do our bit in kind of like supporting the person and supporting the body and reducing the stress as they go through it. So PCOS we see PCOS in our clinic all the time. When pregnant, is acupuncture safe? Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It is a big part of the work that we do. And I don't talk about it a lot because obviously a lot of the focus is on fertility and talking about pregnancy and pregnancy support. It is a very different space. But lots of people, when they get pregnant, stay with us right the way through. So almost every single person who gets pregnant in this clinic stays with us till at least they've got to the 12-week mark. And they often come every week, because if you are somebody who has been through fertility struggles, if you've been through pregnancy loss, miscarriage, baby loss, failed rounds of fertility treatment, when you get pregnant, it is not like, you know, everything suddenly, as I'm sure many of you will appreciate, it's not like everything disappears and you're suddenly really happy. It's often out of one frying pan into another. And there is a lot of anxiety and people feel like, well, what can I do? You know, what can I do? And so coming to acupuncture on a weekly basis, lots of people have reflexology at that point as well, really, really helps support people on an emotional level. And again, we help with people with their digestion, if they've got constipation in early pregnancy, definitely help with anxiety, definitely help with insomnia, sickness, completely safe and really, really valuable, because, you know, a pregnancy after fertility treatment or fertility struggles is really difficult, and we really understand and appreciate that. And so we love to work with people right the way through, and you know, we're so privileged and honored to do that. We go right the way through to birth and beyond. So yeah, it's a good thing. When do you recommend acupuncture during IVF transfer? I've been told the day before transfer and day 3. Is that what you would recommend? To be honest, Sinead, it varies depending on who I'm working with, and every acupuncturist will have a different opinion. So the study that I was talking to at the beginning of the talk, that was talking about why acupuncture became really popular alongside IVF treatment, that study showed people having acupuncture on the morning, so before they had transfer, and on the evening, on the day, you know, off transfer, so before transfer and after transfer. And that's what that study was about. And lots of acupuncturists recommend that. But actually, subsequent studies have shown that the stress of getting to an acupuncture appointment, then the stress of getting to an IVF transfer, then the stress of getting back to an acupuncture appointment can actually be counterproductive. So some subsequent studies have shown that. So I always err on the side of caution. And so I often do treatment before they're going in for transfer. So maybe 1 or 2 days before then. And then often I will do it on the day of transfer if that is not stressful. And after transfer, I really leave it up to the person. So some people do 3 days afterwards, because that is around the time of implantation. But I would say it's up to your practitioners, because different practitioners have different opinions, and it depends on how you are feeling. So if somebody is very anxious, then I would definitely be seeing them on day 3 afterwards. If somebody's got a lot of inflammation or kind of pain or swelling from having their egg collection, again, I would be wanting them in for treatment after their IVF transfer as well. So it really does vary depending on patient and depending on the practitioner, but before or after that time is a really, really important time. So I'm sure it will be helpful. Okay, blimey, it's 7:45. I don't know what happened there. If you have any other questions, you are very welcome to direct message me or email me, connect with me on Instagram. You know, I'm always around. I'm really happy to help. I will be sending around a replay of this as well. So you'll get an email tomorrow with a replay. And yeah, it's lovely to have you here. Thank you very much for your time.
Hannah, can I ask you something? Sorry.
Oh, no, don't apologise.
So I need to apologise to Sinead on this Zoom call, because I sent a question for you, but for some reason it only sent directly to Sinead. So I do apologise.
Okay.
What I was what I said was, obviously, thank you for acknowledging miscarriage and pregnancy loss. It's made me feel less anxious about starting acupuncture because I've never even been to a clinic.
Yeah.
Do you have to, like, because it's quite a recent thing that's happened, would you have to wait at all, or could you just go whenever?
Yeah, I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
I would go as soon as you can. Where are you based?
Manchester.
Okay, so let me eat sorry, I can't see your name on there. Oh, you're Hannah.
Yeah.
What I'll do, Hannah, if you drop me an email, I will email you back with some good practitioners to go and see, because it's such a difficult time that you're going through, and I really want you to go and see a really good practitioner who's got the compassion and the experience to hold you in that space, because I see lots of people immediately after a miscarriage. People often come in then, and it can be really, really helpful, A, to have someone to talk to, and B, to feel like you've got something that you can do, because often it's about, you want to reset, you want to get your cycle back, you want to make sure that you're ovulating again, all of those things. You want to, make sure the uterus lining sheds and have a new fresh cycle. And so it's a combination of using the acupuncture needles to do that, but also doing it in a way that's really safe and supportive to you, given where you're at and what's just happened. So if you email me, I will find a great person for you to go and see.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, so I am going to love you and leave you, everybody. I really hope that's been helpful, and thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to do this more often because I've absolutely loved talking about acupuncture. Who knew? So take good care, everybody, and as I said, get in touch if you need anything. And Hannah, email me and I'll email you back.
Is it just the email that you sent with the link?
Yeah, hello@hannahpern.com.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, take care, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.